The internet is getting much worse. It's the 40s, right? It has to be the 40s.
To say that I don't know how games media keeps on getting worse, I would be lying because basically I do know, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
You are being failed by corporations within games media, and it sucks. There's a
That's some Twilight plot levels of mysticism right there.
few stories that are going on today. Here's the most shocking one, though. This viral thread that appeared from Jake Ward over on X. An AI-focused content creator was boasting about how he automated the process of manipulating Google's search engine tools into, well, his own success. They did this by actively stealing a list of pages and topics from a competitor, then flooding the internet with AI trash articles based on stolen titles, and they then grew their site to having 490,000 visitors every month, with a total of 3.6 million visitors by doing this. And it's not just
Yeah, this is believable because I have heard about this even before. Yeah, this has been a thing that you could have done for years, honestly, at this point. But it was kind of kept under wraps. And now it's seemingly kind of public, which is a problem for Google. But that's good because a problem for Google is a win for everyone else.
even the sort of random, AI kind of bros on X who are doing this. No, Futurism investigated reports this week alleging that Sports Illustrated has had fake authors writing fake articles, and then when Sports Illustrated were challenged, they just went and deleted everything. So this, folks, is the
Nice.
internet that we exist on. It is one that does not value or reward useful media in any way at scale. That's
When has the internet valued useful media or good things? Never. Absolutely never to begin with, so this is not a new problem.
scale being the real operator, the important word there. Instead, everything seems to be for these larger companies about manipulation of search algorithms and structure in order to survive in a world where you have ad revenue, you have audiences, and funnily enough, even we feel that while this channel has had one or two record months recently, we have not had record revenue because our ad rates have absolutely slammed into the floor, which is likely why you are seeing more weirdness and desperation, because this is happening across media. And if you'd like to pay our bills, well, here is today's sponsor. Ground.news/Baldular
Oh,
revolutionized
wow. Yeah, how about the big giant nope on this one, huh? Bam.
3, GameIndustry.biz broke the news that ReedPop, they actually want to sell the Gamer Network Group and are exploring options. Now you may think, Gamer Network Group, what's that? Doesn't matter to me, never heard of it. Well, that includes sites like Rock Paper Shotgun, Eurogamer, VG247, and GameIndustry.biz.
Yeah, I don't use any single one of these news sites. Like, gaming news sounds so stupid. Why would you go read gaming news on some kind of rando website? It seems so... It seems so bad, honestly. I have never used a single gaming news website ever. It seems like a waste of time.
They also do have investments in some related groups like Digital Foundry. Of course, we do love the Digital Foundry boys, so bad news is not the sort of thing that we want. And they also provide advertising services to the likes of VGC and some other sites. Pretty crazy. They say that ReedPop, part of RX, has reviewed its UK businesses and decided to investigate the potential sale of its gamers network and associated editorial digital properties. And they
Wow.
believe that new ownership offers the best conditions for growth of the business. And really, the last sentence there is the important one, because it's not really about things such as providing a better service to the audience or maybe giving these sites a chance to do the best work possible in a way that is sustainable. No, it is about growing the business.
Yes, as it should honestly be, as most things are. Yeah, obviously. Because growing the business implies all of those things, by the way. It's not even a bad thing to say, honestly. So, I don't get that point of critique. It's got actually not confined with real life, honestly.
Always remember that Waypoint, which was kind of like the more membership thing, I suppose a bit like what we do at bellier.ghost.io, that Waypoint was doing, which was Vice's gaming vertical. And from what we were led to believe, like, that was, like, healthy. It was fine. It was even growing. But the point was, line go up, but not fast enough. Therefore, die. Welcome to the corporate world. As the internet basically is collapsing as a system where money is made, every old model of revenue is absolutely struggling. We're seeing that on our content, and you are seeing.
That's, by the way, usually not true. If line go up and you're gonna keep going up, then even if it's slow, you're probably gonna keep it. Unless you desperately need the resources from that slowly upticking thing to something else that you believe is gonna be way better, way faster, way more lucrative, then you're probably never actually taking resources away from that slowly upticking thing, because that's stupid. That's throwing money in the garbage for no reason. And if you're gonna do that, you better are off better taking a loan or something, so you can keep growing that slow thing, and it doesn't really make money because it's paying off the loan, but you can actually put resources into the new thing. So that's pretty stupid if anyone ever sees a line go up and they say, yes, this is going up too slowly. We're not talking about a bank investment with a 1% a year where someone gets pissed because it's only 1% a year.
That across all of these different topics, and that's what we're really going to get into today. Number one, things were actually never that great anyway, because there never really has been that much money in video games journalism. Not really for the owners, and certainly not for the people doing work on the sites. 15 years ago, right, if you wanted to make money as the owner of a games press outlet, you were basically just trying to get as many views as possible by trying to target as much of the audience as possible to get as many eyeballs and advertisements as was possible. This is how the internet works with Google AdWords and all of that stuff, and to a certain degree it still does work like that. And this is of course why many websites at the time were devoting a curiously large amount of page space to galleries. Galleries of, say, cosplayers at gaming conventions, so that everybody could only appreciate the incredible art and craft of what they were doing. 15 years ago, what a time. But yes, that was a lot of clicks on individual pages. Every time you click to the next cosplay picture in the gallery, some more advertising revenue happens. But even then, right, you could pay for some investigative journalism or maybe a big expose as a result of the funding that you got from your strange galleries, your listicles, and of course your guides. And guides specifically over the last 10 years, you really will have noticed, like, all the sites have an absolute guide farm going on. After that, we then had Facebook destroying the...
Does that work? Do people go to websites like, I don't know, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and look up guides on how to do things in games? That's crazy.
Internet as well, so their fun pivot into video that's, kind of helped to demolish a whole bunch of sites. That's a whole story, won't really get into it. But here's the thing, algorithms, specifically Google's one, search engine optimization. If you want something, you search for it. And basically, nowhere do you see this more than guides. And basically, you see those guide articles like Destiny 2, this is what the vendor sells this week. Those are what actually keep the lights on for loads and loads of these outlets. Let's take a look then at some SEO in action. Is Star Citizen on Steam? Don't really know if many of us were asking that question, but the core principles here are just to ensure that a page gets indexed by Google and then it gets placed highly in rankings, meaning that, it does a good job in having a certain amount of keyword density, but not too much keyword density, or else it could look suspicious to Google, having internal crosslinks, having a relatively high word count, and a whole bunch of things like that. Those articles you go on to and you're like, why have you summarized the game? Why have you done... And the whole thing is a bloated absolute mess that, funny enough, feels like it could have been written by an AI. So, the answer to the question of, in this case, is Star Citizen on Steam? No is the answer. You don't actually find that out until halfway down the page.
Yeah, that's why you usually, when you get some kind of link like that, you just close it instantaneously and go to the next one, because they don't provide you with answers. Admittedly, this is how the game currently is played, and there's nothing you can honestly do about it. Probably a lot of you have actually noticed that Google is getting extremely versed at actually finding the stuff that you are searching for. I remember 2 years ago, Google found me everything. I didn't need to click on a link. I didn't need to click on anything. I just Googled 3 keywords and what I'm looking for, and bam! First thing, just open a pop-up box and it explains what I'm searching for. Now, no longer. You're looking for some kind of thing. I don't know. You're writing what are semiconductors, and it finds you some kind of stupid article from some kind of website. Why? Because they're paying the biggest advertisement money to be on top, because that's what currently Google does. They don't care about the fact that they're doing the algorithm botching thing. They don't care any longer if it's not what you're searching for. They know that that's not what you're searching for. But they are finding opportunities to give you an ad, a high-paying ad on random things that, that are closely related to it. And that's their best business model. And this is why Google sucks currently. Man, the funniest part when that, by the way, happens is when you're looking for something specific. And, well, let's say you're looking for some kind of food recipe. Now, Google knows that you misspelled how the food recipe is supposed to be called, but it still takes you to a bike shop because reasons, essentially. And that's the funniest part. It knows what you're looking for, but it still gives you intentionally the wrong answer. It's great.
Of course, those Google people ask, probably optimized to appear in some sort of shelf on Google search like that. And of course, heaven forbid you actually load one of these sites on, a mobile phone, where you'll probably find multiple pop-up adverts, a video playing somewhere that probably gets in the way of site controls, and various different forms of literal hell. And this is, of course, why the whole saved you a click profiles on, X exist, right? Pithily summing up whole articles in, one tweet or something like that. And as much as sometimes those really do make some of the people who work in those sites kind of angry, you do have to understand that ultimately it's not really the fault of that X account. It's not really the fault of the people who use it. It's not even the fault of the journalists who basically are, for their job, assigned to do this stuff. It kind of is the fault of the systems that are driving all of this behavior. Ultimately, it is a bit of a game design problem, isn't it? So that's what's going on, but let's level it up a little bit and truly dive into how loopy it all is. So here is somebody saying, thanks so much for taking our work. Google going the saved you a click route is so frustrating, especially on guides. And you can see here, right? Generative AI is experimental. Info quality may vary. Learn more. In Cyberpunk 2077, the player must decide early in the main campaign whether to side with Dexter Deshawn or Evelyn Parker. This decision doesn't have much impact, and it just goes into a whole bunch of stuff. And what this is basically is the AI slurping up a whole bunch of things. In this case, seemingly from these different sources. Now, this is a really hilarious thing that's going on, because this is Google's own AI in a way kind of hurting itself and everyone else in the process. As Alex Donaldson says, the funniest thing about this extremely grim and fucked up development is how Google's AI answer is probably more concise, clear, and useful to the user than a lot of websites, because they have to be more wordy and pad in order to rank and fulfill the SEO requirements for Google. So what he's getting at there is a lot of the way that people have got to write articles online is based on what actually works for Google. And that means that Google's AI that summarizes and strips away all of the specifically for SEO bullshit, that means their AI will be giving a better version of this. But here's where it actually gets kind of weird, because if users just click on the AI thing,
you don't click on anything, yes.
You don't get any ad revenue.
Yep.
Right? And this is actually where it gets kind of weird, because Google may very well be running the advertisements on a whole bunch of these sites that are being scraped by the AI, that basically the Google AI then, sort of circumvents the need to go and visit those sites. So this is quite interesting. It's a bit like how there's been some generative AI experiments on, of course, on YouTube, where...
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. But then again, they're removing it slowly. Now you can't get the Google short answers any longer. because that's bad for business.
Maybe Google would be providing some summaries of videos. And that's the sort of thing where, from my perspective, it could be quite destructive. Because number one, it turns it into an inherently more extractive experience. Number two, I have seen just about no example of those video summaries that even approaches doing a decent job of the totality of a video, which itself will be, maybe 2,000 words, 2,500 words, and also will have storytelling elements that the AI cannot parse right now, like how cuts are made, what people are speaking sometimes, things like that. So this is one of those strange things where, to me, it feels like everyone is chasing AI market share. But in the process of chasing AI market share, we are perhaps smashing up a whole bunch of things and not necessarily thinking about the consequences. Ultimately, then, we get to the tension of things where content...
Well, consequences are not really a human thing to worry about, let's be real. So, because we're really good at just finding ways around consequences. So, why would we worry about consequences? Something bad happens? Well, let's just fix it in some kind of arbitrary way.
Content that is good does not necessarily make money, and it's got to exist within the context of an optimized website that keeps ticking on. A great example, most of the videos on this channel, not this one, they are what we internally call a roundup, because they have multiple news stories. This video, however, this is a report, because it's one topic. Now, here's the really interesting thing. Whenever we try to market a roundup, and we even mention 2 or 3 topics in the video title, way fewer people click. And then because less people click, because, hey, the more you know, the more reasons you could have to not click, or maybe, because it is literally more words, your eyes will go to like a 4-word title somewhere else on the website. But whatever it is, YouTube basically pummels our video into existence, which is actually one of the reasons why over on our membership platform at bellier.ghost.io, we don't do any of our titles like that. Our videos go up early, our full doc, everything goes up early, because we just want to give you the best experience. But here we've got to jump through the hoops, and that kind of is it is the trouble. So if you've been frustrated by YouTubers with titles and thumbnails, which, by the way, as somebody who is literally involved in doing those, they frustrate me. It's the worst part of my job, but also I have a responsibility.
This is not necessarily true. Long titles still do work. If you are in an appropriate space where people are going to actually read the long titles. You're doing a video on games. No one cares about you being smart, okay? No one cares about any of that. People care only about haha funny, or something like that. That's it. No one cares about you being smart. No one cares about all the topics. And the reality is, people don't care about clickbait, actually. If you clickbait someone, that's completely fine. No one cares. Also, a even more niche reality is that there's no such thing as a non-clickbait title, because it's gonna be clickbait 100% for someone for some reason. Because imagine, even if you click at something as simple as, I don't know, the story of Game of Thrones. Very topical, I know, thank you. The story of Game of Thrones. You click on it, and you know what the intro is? In this video, I'm going to be telling you about the story of Game of Thrones. And someone's already pissed because that wasn't in the title. That's clickbait for them, because they expected to click and get the story of Game of Thrones, not someone talking about how they're going to do the video about Game of Thrones. You see that? Kind of niche, definitely. But hey, it's real. So, yeah, it is what it is. If you're gonna do gaming videos like this, they better be hot button, hot issue, hot topic type of video names, because otherwise, who cares? No one cares. Exactly. If you want to have long names, that's completely fine. But then you have to do like something like science. Otherwise, well, it's gonna be bad.
To pay people's wages, and frankly, I would not be able to afford our current team if I did not play the game. It is as simple as that. And this is the sort of thing that over in the sort of text media space, you basically see the same shit happen, but there's a difference. Here, This is, this is the result of multiple team members and ultimately is presented in a video format where we control more of the experience, where it's not purely just about information. It is about the flow of the video. It is about knowing, oh, there's that dickhead in the internet, and I know if I click in his channel.
The reality also is the quality of the video absolutely does nothing. Okay? You can make the worst video and it's gonna get 0 views, and you can make the best video ever and it's gonna get 0 views. And that 90% of that is just dependent on the title of the video and the thumbnail. That's it. That's it. The title and the thumbnail are the most important parts of YouTube. Trust me. I get on the Magic channel, I upload a video. If it's not doing good, I just change the thumbnail up to, I don't know, maybe even 2 or 3 times, and the name. And guess what? Sooner or later, I hit, and the video starts magically performing way better. Because again, it's all about just getting the initial click. Okay? If you're not making completely shit content that no one cares about, it's just about getting in the initial click. So that's why clickbait is the best thing ever, because that's the most important part about video making, sadly.
Every day I'll get some things and I can listen to them on my walk, right? That's the kind of value that's going on. So inherently here on the platform of YouTube, we are so much more insulated against this utter AI hellscape than it is for our colleagues over in just pure text. And that's challenging because even before any of this, you really did have the problem of criticisms and reviews barely make any money. Investigative reports barely make any money, right?
Yeah, obviously, because they're not interesting. I understand the idea that an investigating report about Bungie doing bad things to their, I don't know, community managers is technically really interesting because you put a lot of time in it. But I, as a gamer, absolutely do not care about who does what as a game developer. I just care about the game being good or bad. And that's pretty much what I concentrate on most videos. Game good, game bad. Anything in between, any nuance, is bad. Because people don't care about it. And honestly, I also don't care about it. I don't care how good or bad these companies treat their employees. I just care about that game.
None of that makes any money as compared to doing guides and news. But of course, a lot of us in our heads, we would say that we value the investigative reports and the reviews more than anything else. But the economics absolutely do not.
Absolutely not. If I care about something, it's probably the whole story of whatever happened. And that's not an investigative report.
Back that up unless you are able to have a direct fan funding model, as we see with, as an example, what we're doing, what Easy Allies are doing, what Second Wind is doing. Of course, that's Yahtzee and all the people who have left The Escapist, right? These direct fan funding models actually allow for the things that we all say we actually value to actually be valued, as opposed to this big SEO-driven nightmare hellscape. Because the problem is, you can probably be sort of sustainable on, on having a mix of the investigative.
Now, YouTube itself, what it recommends you, by the way, is also an absolute SEO hellscape by itself. So, honestly, you're not doing better on YouTube. You're still fighting for the same search engine results. It's just less apparent. It's just less in your face.
Journalism.
But the recommendations are literally the same as Google's engine. Okay, and yes, one of the biggest things on YouTube that people don't know is the fact if you're living in, I don't know, Cambodia or someplace, and your ads are worthless, you could be making the best absolute content on YouTube that has ever existed, but you're still not going to get a single view. Because why would YouTube ever want to promote videos that don't make any money to people so they watch? Yeah, they don't. Because YouTube is always trying to maximize time that people spend on YouTube versus monetary gain that YouTube gets from that time. And, well, the longer the time goes that someone spends on YouTube, the higher the chance that they're going to stop watching YouTube. So, at any point, you need to maximize the efficiency of money acquired from someone watching YouTube. So, if your video doesn't even have ads, good luck! Good luck.
And doing.
Now, admittedly, there is that niche that YouTube will take some videos that have super high viewer retention and just push them to people, even though if they don't even have ads. Which YouTube now does automatically, so, you know, they do have ads to a certain degree. But they will, there is that niche factor. If you have a super good video that everyone watches and the retention is super good, YouTube's going to just show it to people regardless of anything. Because, you know, they try to make you stay on the site longer by showing you also super good videos.
The sort of nasty things, but also doing some good reviews. But the problem is, let's say you are Gamers Network, and of course, if you're not aware who Gamers Network are, they are, of course, the fine folks who own many different gaming websites. I believe that had included Destructoid, which had a whole bunch of layoffs. Also, I believe The Escapist. Basically, Gamers Network have been really bad news everywhere they have went, and yeah, they did acquire a whole bunch of games outlets over the last while, because the problem is, if all you want is growth, what are you going to do? You're going to, in a way, 80-20 principle that stuff. And what that's going to mean is you're going to be saying, okay, so you are spending 30 hours or 20 hours on a game review. In that same amount of time, you could have put out X different news stories or Y different guides. And that would be that many more pages, ranking an SEO for that many more things, because ultimately it is an SEO game. If you guys think that a lot of stuff comes from somebody saying, I want to know what's going on in the gaming news, I know what I'll do. I'll go to website.com and I'll read the news. You know, just like I'm reading the Telegraph or the Economist or the Guardian or the Observer or, you know, something like that. Like you're reading an old newspaper.
Who's reading any of that garbage?
No, it's almost all coming from Google.
The only news network that I read is CNN because it's funny. Okay? That's it. If you're not reading CNN, you're honestly damaging yourself because it's great news. It's great satire.
And that is why it's all guides and stuff. Because you look...
Do you want to know what's popular to lie about? You read CNN, boy.
And it would be like you, going and looking at the front page of the newspaper and finding that it's full of guides. And you're saying, who the hell's going to pick up this newspaper and read these guides? But that's the problem. If you think about a modern gaming news website in that way, in that understanding that we have of what a press outlet is, completely wrong. I mean, it should be right, and I wish it was that way, but in reality, all these really exist to be is well-optimized buckets for things that Google can crawl and then serve to display ads on. And we might get to do a few cool, reviews or an investigative journalism every now and then. And that basically is how things have been working. But the problem is, as line go up, increases, now, that previous example I had, well, why bother doing reviews when you can just, say, do a review roundup article and then do an article based on the Steam score? 80-20 principle that. And then you start to realize, why can't we just train an AI to do all of this? And then hire an AI editor so that
the future is bright.
AI editor isn't sitting there, writing at 80 words per minute like some utter plebeian, when instead we can have a big happy robot. As an example, I've seen videos on YouTube being like, look, faceless AI generated YouTube shorts, how I develop 110 minutes.
Yeah, I have seen that. They're pretty funny. All of them claim that this is how you become a millionaire, and then they show absolutely no results because there are no results. There absolutely are no results.
And you're like, cool. That could not be of good quality or worthwhile to people, but ultimately what you're just doing is flooding an algorithm with decently optimized things. This does not provide real value, people, but it is exactly what's going on, and it is exactly how we...
Real value is perception. Hey, if you were not unhappy in that time period, I think that's real value.
Get to the likes of Glorbo. Remember Glorbo? When the Reddit started saying the Glorbo was a big new feature, and then the really shitty initial versions of these AI farm websites picked up Glorbo as if it was a real thing coming.
What is a Glorbo? Wait, is that from Rick and Morty? I think I remember an episode where something a Glorbo exists there.
To Destiny 2 and World of Warcraft. Because ultimately, as our head writer and researcher puts it in today's report, ultimately it comes down to money generating within the ecosystem, and within that context, people are trying to make sure they can serve the audience. You have hardworking, well-meaning people trying to...
Okay, I think now we're slowly just gonna go in circles at this point. It is what it is. Well, the longer the video, the better it is for ad revenue also. Keep that in mind. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid saying thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And that was Billiard News. He doesn't have an outro. Anyway, bye-bye.